Hi everybody, welcome to Let's Not Play Legend of Dragon with Jesse.
What's up?
And on Gaming Memoirs. Yes, today we decided to do a Let's Not Play because it's been a while. So the way I like to do these is we like to do vague, I should say broad, then straight, then broad, then very narrow. So we pick a specific game as opposed to doing a broad nature. First person shooters to maybe Cold Fear sort of thing. Well, today we are doing Legend of Dragon, which is a fighting game on PS2 and Wii from our understanding. And Jesse, why don't you explain to them why we're doing Legend of Dragon?
Every time we went into EB Games, in the bargain bin was Legend of Dragon, and I said, hey, you want a good game to Let's Not Play? This one. Everyone always told me, no, we're never getting that game, nor ever doing it. So guess what? Today, we finally got it. That's why we're doing Legend of Dragon.
Jesse insisted. He gave me like $5 and said buy this game.
The game was actually like $3.
$3.
I figured we could have gotten a burger or this game. I would have preferred the burger, but...
Okay, alright, let me establish yet again, because I don't know, I seem to get a lot of comments in the chat. People think I just pick miserable games to review. I don't do that.
Random.
No.
The game could be good, like Cold Fear.
I like Cold Fear.
It's a decent
cool game. Yeah.
It's just kind of weird, but...
I don't pick miscellaneous games to pick on. That's not my incentive here. I just take random games, or I should say we just pick something that sounds like, a miscellaneous. It could be funny sounding. It could be ridiculous looking.
There was one Western game I wanted to get. It was like $3, but apparently the price tag was actually $20, so we're like, no.
Well, that's the thing, though, right? So we ended up with Legend of Dragon. So from what we played about 2 hours of it, I'd say. Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, about 2 hours. We got it, and we kind of checked.
Yeah, we did a bit about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did our research.
Hang on, I gotta get the case so we can see who made the game.
Okay, yes. It was a fighting game. It's right there, Jesse. Pardon me, we weren't prepared for this.
I just realized it's made by the Game Factory from Neko Entertainment and whoever BKN are. I've never heard of any of those guys.
Well, I'm gonna clarify right here. It is a fighting game that is actually based around a cartoon, apparently. Was not aware of this. I completely missed the cartoon, in which the character...
their characters are all Chinese, and the game's in American English
and Spanish.
American English is different from other English, I guess.
I think that's kind of interesting. The main character, I don't recall names here, guys. I apologize, but I'm not that familiar.
Oh, it was
Aang.
Yeah,
Kim's
like,
right.
Yeah.
It was Aang, and he is going to challenge the Zodiac Master.
But he's the dragon.
Yeah,
Zodiac.
he is the dragon, legendary dragon. Golden Dragon.
Let me read the back of the case. Join the Golden Dragon in an epic battle between good and evil. All guardians have magic power bands which transform them into mythical warriors bestowed with powers of the Zodiac creature they represent. Use your individual strengths to defeat the common enemy.
Okay, so essentially what this character Aang is doing is he has to go and challenge all the masters, the Zodiac Masters, to gain enough experience and power to challenge the Zodiac Master, who's the villain of this game.
Which bazookas do not work against, by the way.
In story, that's very relevant. And what he's doing is, if he can beat enough, maybe he'll get the experience to beat the Zodiac Master. Now, it's my understanding that if, it explains in the story, if the Zodiac Master beats you, he steals your Zodiac power, much like Shang Tsung.
That's probably how he got all his other Zodiac powers.
Yeah.
Is he stole them.
Yeah. Well, we assume.
I don't know. We didn't get that far.
So we played through the story mode, and it's our understanding that the cartoon involves Aang and his twin sister, but the twin sister is, I don't know. She doesn't get chosen to be the Golden Dragon, and this ticks her off. So she decides to inherit the power of the Black or the Dark Dragon. And Shadow Dragon or something like that, and is going to use it to combat Aang and be sort of an antagonist. We didn't get that far in the story in the video game to see if she comes up, but that's
might have been a character.
Could be a character.
One
could be on the case. There's two characters on the case. Look pretty similar to me.
I don't know, but there's there's supposedly 18 characters in this game. We started off with like 6, and they're all the same.
Yeah, well. Kind of the sad part. We'll go into gameplay here. It kind of functions.
Hang on.
Sir.
I just want to mention now about how when we type in Legend of the Dragon, all you get is Legend of the Dragoon, and we had to Google image search it. We got like the 10th image down was a picture.
Yeah.
And on Amazon, I think it was on the second page we found the Wii game.
Yeah, it wasn't even. We found the cartoon series before we found
and
the
some
video game.
novels.
Yeah, and some novels, which is funny.
Yeah.
Well, Legend of the Dragoon being a much superior game.
They're not even in the same genre, but that's not fair.
Yeah, that is true. Anyway.
Then again, it's not a very good fighting game anyway, so.
So gameplay-wise, it's kind of like playing Tekken. I mean,
or Mortal Kombat 3D.
Yeah,
versions.
that's a
or
good
Soul
way.
Calibur.
Yeah, it's sort of a 3D environment where, so you know, button prompts, and you have a block button, button prompts, and you beat up your opponent, right? The sad part about what we've played was most characters function very much like each other.
The grabs are absolutely horrendous, as you'll see with us screwing around in our multiplayer match.
I'm sure you'll see it, and I'm gonna put up footage of this later. But it's just awful. For the kicking and punching, it seems like if you were really spent the time with it, it would.
You could do all right.
Yeah,
but
it'd look cool too. You'd
I
feel
felt
cool
like
doing
when I
it.
played the game that the controls are just unresponsive, and I had to like jam the buttons to even get the character to do anything.
Well, the thing is, when you play a game like Blaze Blue or Guilty Gear, it's very specific button presses, right? Street Fighter's like this too. If you do
most
the prompt,
fighting games are like that.
If you do the prompt with slow and sort of realistic succession, you'll get your results. But in this one, it seems like the faster you tap on square, the better, because if you're doing a combo, it's not like square, square, triangle. It'd be like square, square, triangle. You know, like you have to pound on that button really, really quick to get what you needed.
At one point, I was just holding forward and pressing square, and I was like upward punching someone in the face over and over and over again, and they couldn't get out of it.
Yeah, jabbing people in the face. The other problem being the block system doesn't back the other person off. So if you're blocking,
they can still keep hitting you, and you can't get out of it.
You can, if you unblock for a quarter of a second.
You got like the R1 and L1 buttons to like switch your perspective, but I find that half the time I press the button, it didn't work. So I don't know if you need like a certain like
specific situation.
Yeah, like it works most of the time, but when you're desperately trying to do it to get away, you can't do it.
Yes, it wasn't bad. Again, the game functioned well. It wasn't broken by any means.
There was no real glitches.
It's just the kind of thing I figure if we sat more with and spent some time with, it would be okay. But for where it stood, it just wasn't there. Otherwise, in gameplay, the real lure to the battle, as we mentioned before, everyone has a Zodiac form, which you can take in there.
One of them looks like knights.
Hold on. You can take form of by holding L and R1 together, in which you'll transform into a super creature. Now, your moves don't change at all. Everyone has the same special attack.
I think you do a little more damage and a little quicker.
You just you're a bit faster and your moves do damage, which is disappointing because you play a game like Altered Beast, and if you take like Stun the Insect,
or if you transform in Dragon Ball Z, is like in the verses, you do way more.
Yeah, you do cooler things. You're faster, you're stronger. You might you can maybe if you have wings,
you get new specials.
Fly. Yeah, stuff like that. It doesn't really change the gameplay.
You do get some specials, but they're kind of weird specials. They don't like when you like an example in Budokai Tenkaichi 3 for Dragon Ball Z. When you use a Kamehameha on someone, they explode and does like some crazy flash, and like you see damage. You feel satisfied, like you hit them. In this game, you use it, and it just kind of hits someone. It's like KO, and you're like, well,
all right. There's no explosion. There's no payoff. There's just kind of a really cool like jam on the square button, and then they take some damage. Drop. Yeah, that's the sad part about it. Actually, the games that you're using for these specials function much like Yoshi's Island mini games, in which you're jamming on square button, or maybe you're pressing a succession of buttons to use combo attacks, or giving them a pattern to remember and they have to enter the pattern in exactly. So you always have a chance to get out of the special, but it's by countering their special with the special. So really,
like
the Zodiac
card.
Yes, see, the Zodiacs don't really function all that well. They're necessary because they make you stronger.
Yeah, but they're not really. I think you all have the same special, don't you?
Yeah, there's no new specials from what we played.
No, like all the characters have the same special.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Which is really disappointing. Like
it just doesn't feel like the Zodiacs are all that fundamental. They just make you do more damage, which is a shame. It doesn't make you learn more. You can just transform.
My biggest problem with the game is just the unresponsiveness, but also like you'll play like 4 characters, and like 2 of those characters have the exact same moveset.
Exactly. We went from a character. Who was there? There was one that was Victor, but there was someone else. He was Billy, I guess. Jesse was playing, and what ended up happening was shortly into playing them, you realize that Billy and Victor have exactly the same moves. But I mean, they have the same grab, they have the same punches, they have the same combos. Like I mean,
Zodiac forms are different, but they don't do anything different.
It's because you have the same specials. When you train into a gorilla, or it
doesn't matter if you're a gorilla and a cat, you still use a Kamehameha.
Exactly. So that's really the issue, right? If you're good with Billy, you're good with Victor. It doesn't make any difference. So
maybe one's faster than the other,
for all we
slightly
know.
Stronger, but
stats for characters, maybe I'm not sure. But Gameplay wise, it was alright. Story mode wise, it wasn't terrible. It was
It's like some open world, like explore the map sort of
it
thing.
was like playing Risk, but
And the henchmen. And then they make you do some really ridiculous,
hold on. So instead of just fighting people in story mode, as Jesse mentioned before, you fight like you kind of run into goons and they give you like objectives.
Like,
to do
I remember
in-game.
my favorite, we didn't record this unfortunately, is when Trevor fought the first henchman. And the goal of the game was finish the time in 60 seconds. Now, we didn't really read that. We just started beating the crap out of him. We assumed, oh, we'll beat him in 60 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes, we tried the special out for the first time. We used the super form and used the Kamehameha on him and won. It was like, KO! And then suddenly, you lose! It was like, what?
Across the screen. I lost the fight. I destroyed him. I had full health. He had no health. I assumed I won. But he's right. But every fight we did was like that, you know? Beat this character with a certain special, or,
I got
you know?
to one at the end, you'll probably see it at the end of the gameplay, or I just had to like fight this guy with only special attacks, and I couldn't get him below half health.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Because he had to beat him up enough to get up his Zodiac form, transform,
Keep
and
the
shoot at
Zodiac
them.
while using specials, which wastes your Zodiac form.
Exactly. So you have to special while in Zodiac to hurt him. And it's a shame that the game doesn't just let you fight the Zodiac Masters and make them, maybe just make them a little tougher.
For example,
or something.
Soul Calibur 2's Weapon Master system did the same thing, but they weren't nearly as hard, and most of them didn't make you do like ridiculous things like that. When they did, they were like secret stuff, stuff that gives you extra stuff.
Yeah,
this game is just a basic thing you have to do to get further in the story.
Exactly. Want to unlock like the I don't know, the Soul Edge for, you know, Cervantes? Well, do all of his weapon mastery stuff. And that's what it was, right? Beat, you know, Yoshimitsu
With, like,
while he
where he,
hops
like-
on his sword, but, you know...
Yeah, he's like healing himself constantly, and you're losing health constantly with like some purple and red glow.
Yeah,
But you can still, it's just extra stuff. It's not required to beat the game.
Yeah, exactly. It's something just extra. But every fight like that was like that in story mode. Now, albeit we didn't finish story mode,
Of course.
so it's hard for
Well,
us
I couldn't
to
finish
say.
that fight, so.
Well, there we go. We ended up completing the fights and whatnot, moving forward. But if every fight is like that, that's a bit of an issue. Because sometimes...
Well, they're gonna get harder too, right? We're just at the beginning.
Yeah. We don't know how long the game is. It could be another 10 hours. My point is, though, I think sometimes when you're in a fighting game, extra, like, mini-games like that are fine.
They're fine, but not as
Yeah.
required story mode thing.
In Guilty Gear, they do it a lot. When you play story mode, it can be a real issue. One instance, I remember, I couldn't beat Dizzy's story mode because there's a part where you have to fight Law. What is it, Law? Whatever. Anyway, I don't remember the character's name, but you can only hurt him with specials. At this point, I didn't even know how to do a special, so I was stuck on this fight for like a week and a half until I realized I did something and I hurt him and it like hit me, you know. I can use specials and hurt him, but the game, Guilty Gear, doesn't tell you that stuff. They just let you figure that out. So maybe you find out you hurt him because you're only using physical attacks. Ranged attacks don't do anything, or maybe if you fire laser beams, I don't know. It's complicated.
Only hit him in the air.
Exactly, something like that. But the game doesn't tell you anything. I think it was fine, but it's still not great. Like, the game should have done a better job of explaining this to me. Now, it seems like the fight system is kind of like a hodgepodge of a lot of different fighting systems. I don't know if you felt that.
Kind of. It's just kind of.
They wanted to be successful, but they wanted to be like, or they wanted to be successful, but they wanted to be like successful in the. I'm trying to word the sentence by taking other people's fight systems.
I think they were just trying to capitalize on the cartoon and make a fight system, but I've never heard of it before, so I don't know how popular it was. Maybe it's your favorite cartoon,
Yeah.
but I
I
don't
apologize if I don't know about Legend of Dragon. I'm sure maybe it's got some. I figure it's got some great fan base, or I don't know how many was box set 4 we found there.
I don't know. You typed it into Google and we got Legend of Dragoon. How big could the fan base really be?
It might have gotten like 5 seasons for all we know.
Yeah. who knows?
Regardless, the really only thing to touch on for the game was the sound quality, and I didn't notice sound until
Yeah.
like specials came on. This music is almost not there. Like, it's very quiet and very calm, very relaxed music until you use your Zodiac like energy shot laser beam cannon moves. When you cut to the mini games and suddenly like guitar and rock and roll kicks in and everything gets really exciting, like jam on the square button really hard, and it's like Dragon Ball Z pump up music. and then you beat them with you kill them with the special, and the music goes back to being relaxing.
Like,
suddenly, I'm just like, whoa.
I never
why?
even heard the music. What is it exactly? I don't even know.
When you're fighting, it's rather calm. There's a bit of like, small rock sort of thing, like not quite jazzy, but when you're using a special, it's exciting, like super exciting, awesome, metal, not metal, it's just rock music. Well, I don't know. Maybe that's irrelevant to the cartoon. Maybe the cartoon, they're really, quiet, and then suddenly like rock out to like exciting music. Could be. I don't know.
Maybe we should have watched the episode if we could find one.
Yeah, it would have been a good idea. Maybe we could check out an episode or two later and give like a let's not watch or something like that.
Let's not watch. That'd be kind of cool for movies.
It'd be fun, but the problem is I guess I could toss up some miscellaneous video footage. Well, you know what? Maybe. Let's see what people say, because I don't know. It'd be fun to do. We do like Terminators. We're getting off track. Legend of Dragon.
I think we're pretty much finished now.
Yeah.
I've said all I need to say.
Do you have anything else you'd like to point out for Legend of Dragon?
Nope. I can't think of anything other than maybe like you guys kept told me you kept getting scared when I was using my grab as the main character, and I looked like I was trying to rig myself out.
Oh yeah. He would throw himself over the cliff and then super slow motion come back into the arena and like kill his opponent. It was pretty sweet, actually.
Does no damage.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I wouldn't do damage, but it was excellent. I have to say, I guess my closing comments for it was not an incredibly bad game. It's a mediocre game to say best, right? Something that you give to a kid who doesn't know the value of a really good fighting game.
You mean to him?
Well, no, I'm talking about those
$40
kids.
Soul Calibur 2?
Hold on,
or $10 Legend of the Dragon?
Well, hold on. Like, when a kid is, let's say the kid's a really big fan of the show, right?
Well, then you get him the game, yeah.
Exactly, right? It's not bad, and you wouldn't feel bad giving the kid the game, because the kid's ultimately, he's gonna spend hours playing. He's gonna master the fight system.
He won't be like getting Ghostbusters on the NES.
Well, that's the thing, though, right? Like, he's going to play, and he's going to enjoy, and he will be that guy who says, I was the best at Legend of Dragon as a kid. And then his friends will ask, what's that? And it lives on, That's really what those for. I give it, like, a good reception. I just don't give it a great reception.
I don't think I'd ever really I'll go through his shelf again and be like, hey, let's play some Legend of the Dragon.
Maybe for like a fun, cute video, but I wouldn't say I
let's
had
play
a bad
Legend of the Dragon.
I wouldn't say I had a bad time. I was just a little disappointed that a lot of the characters fought the same and had the same base combos, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it really takes away the individuality. You might as well just be taking your favorite zodiac sign or your favorite character from the cartoon
and like punching them together.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, let's take this guy and we'll fight. So yeah, I guess that's all for Let's Not Play Legend of the Dragon.
Yep.
Any closing comments?
I thought I already made my closing comment.
Alright, okay.
You seem to be better at making closing comments than I am.
I do this a lot. Anywho, thanks for watching. I don't know what's next. You can just expect in the future we will have a more broad discussion. Maybe we'll get Kim in on this one, but well, I would like to do, I don't know, possibly something that has to do with MMOs would be fun.
Well, the only MMO I can really discuss would be RuneScape, though. It's the only
We've
one I really
done
played.
Tons. We played MapleStory together.
You played way more than that. You got Adventure Quest. We're getting off topic. We need to stop.
Yeah, we are. We got to stop. Anyway, thanks for watching Legend of the Dragon. Join us next time when we, I guess next week Saturday Night Versus, which is Guns and Robots. So we'll see you next time. Have a nice night.
Yeah, I guess.